my friends and colleagues, they quickly gave me the slogan. They used to call me Zan the man with the plan. They knew me as this eclectic, larger-than-life innovator from New York, aspiring to be the best fraternity brother, community organizer, and wannabe entrepreneur that I could be. And that was my life in Florida. But all of you that are meeting me here today in this room, you're being introduced to me as Jahaziel. Jahaziel is actually my first name. I just told them Israel when I came to this program, because I know people have difficulties with names that have more than 2 syllables. So, it's like Jahaziel. Okay. I'm like, Israel. Just call me Israel. All right, cool. But my name is Jahaziel. That's my name. And I like that name, and it has a lot of meaning to me. And on the exterior, I, in my entire adult life, on the exterior, I seem to be this intelligent, put together, and talented, functioning member of my local community. Over the last several years, I thrived in a budding career as a marketing manager for the largest residential roofing company in South Florida. Prior to that, I worked for colleges and universities. I worked as a medical recruiter, recruiting nurses and things like that. So I've always had a really good career and some sort of success. I was a worship leader and influencer for a small hipster church plant down in Miami. I'm a self-taught calligrapher in my free time. My Instagram and Facebook posts projected that my life was like picture perfect, the perfect bachelor, life in Miami. All the sun, sand, and sea. Everything was good. That's what I projected to the world. That's what I projected to everyone else. But what many people didn't know, what many people didn't realize, is that from a very young age, I had learned to become a pretender. I have learned to make these masks. And I would spend hours and hours and days and months making these masks. And I had become so good at making these masks that I forgot when I looked in the mirror. I would look at myself in the mirror and I couldn't even tell who I was anymore. I had become a lie. And what's amazing is that every time someone would throw something at me, that's the thing, I would spend all this time making these masks, right? And then when I get back home and I look in the mirror, someone gave me a new name, and now it's like, oh, great, you're now weak. Oh, all right, fine. Oh, you're a punk. Let me make another mask for that. Boom. These masks were covering up so many different things. And what many of my friends and family and close acquaintances didn't know was that I had been secretly struggling with a 7-year crystal meth addiction and blood disease, which are both rooted in the psychological and emotional damage that I survived from a childhood molestation and abuse. So for many years, from like my adolescent into my early teens, I was molested. And as a result of that, there's a lot of insecurities, psychological things that I would always put these masks. I would try to cover them up, and people would say, oh, you're effeminate, gotta make a mask for that. Let me grow my beard, macho man, And, there's all these things that people would say, and there's all these lies, and you go through your life and people say these things to you, and it gets to a point where you have to decide, is this truth, And I became so good at crafting these masks. As I got older, I started to realize that I was having an identity crisis. I forgot who I was. I forgot I got lost in all of the pain and the suffering and all of those things. I had been living on a foundation of lies. I projected like I was confident and cool and together, but inside I was operating on beliefs that were predicated on lies. Lies that I'm inferior, that I'll never be good enough, lies that I've messed up too much, that God can't save me, that I'm not created in the exact image of God, you know? And I would always try to put these masks on. And the final straw was when I thought I got a golden mask. I'm like, all right, this mask is good. It's golden. But I hustled some guy in Chinatown to get the mask. It was fool's gold. but no one knew. No one knew that. No one could tell. I mean, that my mask was not gold. You know. Little did I know, my mask was upside down. The gold was chipping on the sides. And here I am trying to tell people like, yeah, and they're just like, nah, bruh, that ain't real. And what I didn't realize was that what this mask had been covering up all those years is something that's very difficult to deal with. And my life got to the point where my mask was upside down. It was tore up. It was taped together with duct tape and all this other stuff. That's all my drug abuse and broken relationships and heartache and all the different things that I went through. And it finally got to that point where I was like, you know what? This mask isn't working anymore. This mask isn't working. And for me, realizing that the mask wasn't working, I was in a mental health hospital in South Florida, first time ever. They gave me all these psych meds, and I was all loopy, and it was a mess. And I got kicked out of the house that I was living in because I relapsed, and I argued with the people that I was with, and my life had just collapsed. I lost all my jobs, and my health was deteriorating and all sorts of stuff. And that was like 10 months ago, And I remember in some desperation, I called back up here to New York. And I had a lot of pride. I didn't want to reach out to my family. Like, I pushed my family away. And but I reached out to my family because I knew that these masks that I had been creating were not helping me anymore. They weren't working, and everybody knew it, and then I finally just accepted, you know what, I gotta put this mask down. And my mom told me about Teen Challenge, and I heard about Teen Challenge as a youth, growing up in youth group. I remember the choir came to my church, and I remember what's so crazy is I was so self-righteous, wearing masks again, thinking, people would talk about like masturbate. Oh, I don't masturbate. I was like 14. Of course I masturbated. But I remember they came, and I remember seeing the people giving their testimonies. And I remember sitting there in the pew being super critical, like, oh, look at them. And now, 20 years later, look at me. I'm on choir giving my testimony at someone's church, and like, look, like I became that guy, and but I will say this. When I came here to Teen Challenge 9 months ago, I walked through this door and with this on. And the 9-month journey that I was here at Teen Challenge, I had to keep taking these masks off. And what were these masks? There are so many of them. Mr. Weekend Warrior, Mr. I Don't Care, Mr. Super Spiritual, Mr. Macho Man, or as I would say for me, Mr. Angry Black Man, that's a mask. Mr. Workaholic, I used to hide a lot behind working and performance. For me, that actually became a defense. Working hard, perfectionism, all of those are defenses, they're masks that I wear in order to protect me. The Mr. People Pleaser, trying to please everyone, and the worst mask of all is Mr. I got this. Soon as you say you got this, you don't got it. You don't got it. And the entire 9-month journey that I was here at Teen Challenge, I was challenged to take off these masks and to give them up. And then, when I took my mask off, I finally realized what everyone had seen the whole time. That I was just this big, dusty lump of coal. And I want to encourage y'all that during your process here at Teen Challenge, don't be afraid of seeing this dusty lump of coal. Yes, it's dirty. Yes, when you touch it, it leaves a residue on your hands. Yes, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and see this piece of coal and to see your mask that you've been using to try to cover this for all that time. But one of the amazing things about the God that we serve is that he uses things like dusty pieces of coal, like clay, like dirt, like all of these things. When you read the scriptures and you read about the God that we serve, he uses raw materials like this to transform them into something beautiful, into something amazing. And it was so hard for me to accept this. For like the first 3 months that I was here at Teen Challenge, like I wore those masks and I wasn't here. I was just like, nope, mask. Okay. And I finally accepted that I'm here and I'm like, you know what? I gotta start taking these masks off. And then this guy comes up and this process here at Teen Challenge, you're gonna suffer. You are gonna experience pain. I'm not gonna say that the past 9 months of my life have been golden. They haven't. It's been difficult. There's time. They used to the guys. So once I got a bottom bunk, when I finally got a bottom bunk, I started making these little tents. But what people don't realize is that it wasn't, the tent wasn't like to, hide. Well, it really was to hide. But there were so many nights where, I'm in tears, but I'm not, people don't know that. People don't know the conversations I have with, my family on the phone or, going to the doctor, for me it's not fun. Every day having to walk into that room to get medication, that for me is not, it's very painful. There's a lot of things that you have to face here in this place. You have to face the reality of the mayhem that those masks created. And it's hard. It is not, it's still hard today. Come on. And the only thing that, that got me through seeing this guy in the mirror every single day, even to today, I still see this guy when I look in the mirror. It's God's word, and it's God's truth, and it's God's promises, I want to share a resource with you guys of the things I learned here at Teen Challenge. Here we go. I want to encourage y'all, and I want to leave y'all with this. You know, don't be afraid to take off these masks. Don't be afraid to take off your masks here. Team Challenge, this is a safe place for you to be able to stop attending. It's a place for you to be able to take these masks off and to deal with this guy, this mess. And to allow God to bring you through the refining process. And it hurts. Fire is not, fun. I want to read this scripture. It's in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. And it says, "Come and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us, and in the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight." So God does refine us with fire. Hosea chapter 6, 1 and 2. He will refine you. This teen challenge, what does that refining look like? That looks like getting in a little bickering argument with your brother in the morning over the toaster. It looks like, I wanted the bottom bunk, but, and I'm the next student in line, and who's this brother to, blah, blah, blah. Like, the